I'm trying to see whether we're going to get any usable weather. So I've got an animation of the satellite pictures, try and spot any clear sky. Not looking too good. There are a couple of breaks, but nothing very long, I suspect.
Cloud is the perpetual enemy of the British amateur, but it's their gritty determination to overcome both this and a lack of sleep which sets them apart from the professional.
I'll try and get some sleep from packing the telescope up to actually leaving for work. And during the night, it depends on what's there and what you're trying to image. But if you've got you may be imaging one object for maybe half an hour or 3/4 of an hour, so you know that, and you try and catnap for that time. And as soon as that one's finished, there's beeps and sounds that try and wake you up.
Peters Observatory is more than just an alarm clock. It contains thousands of pounds worth of technology, from computers to imaging cameras. And it's this equipment which has helped revolutionise amateur astronomy.
The availability of technology, which is relatively cheap technology, has been crucial in modern amateur work with the digital revolution. CCD cameras, pocket calculators at first, then computers of varying degrees of sophistication, then of course computer-monitored telescopes, and all of them getting cheaper all the time. And in the same way that it was possible to have a telescope cheaper in 1900 than in 1860, so now you can have all the state-of-the-art computing and all kinds of multi-facilities vastly cheaper than would have been possible in 1975.
Martin Moberly lives in Suffolk with his 4 telescopes. He's taken early retirement to become a full-time astronomer and writer, and is among a growing number of amateurs fully to embrace this new technology.
I like to have telescopes set up, focused and ready to go. There is nothing worse than suddenly finding it's buried in a discovery and you've got to think, oh, I had that telescope in the wrong configuration. I've got to change those lenses, switch that over, put another camera on the end. I like everything to be set up, so I have a telescope specifically for comets, galaxies, deep sky objects, and another one purely for planets, and that works really well. This is my 10-inch Newtonian f6.3, and it's ideal for planets. It's the one I use for purely imaging the moon and planets, but for looking at planets you have to assess the atmospheric seeing. That's how turbulent the atmosphere is, so you're looking through 20 miles of atmosphere and everything is scintillating, but now and again you get very calm conditions when the atmosphere is stable at the ground level and at the jet stream level, and under those conditions the views of the planets are absolutely mind-blowing, and that's when I use this telescope a lot. I don't know any amateur astronomer who doesn't own a hairdryer, simply because when it is very humid in the UK, and it nearly always is every night, as soon as the temperature drops, dew forms on everything. As you know, if you go out to your car in the morning, it's absolutely covered with dew, or in winter with ice even. And you've got to get rid of that dew somehow, and the best way is simply a hairdryer. And that is, and apart from getting electrocuted using it in the dark and damp, there's really, it's just about the best accessory any amateur can possess. You couldn't observe without a hairdryer because of all the dew formation. Right, well this is the observatory of my main Celestron 14 on a Paramount ME mounting, and it's the #1 instrument here. It's the most powerful instrument, and it's robotically controlled. The cables from here go under the lawn, travel about 130 feet into the study where I control the telescope remotely throughout the winter nights. This mounting is the best amateur mounting in the world, bar none. Every amateur really wants one of these. I'm a very proud owner of it. Essentially I use this telescope with this SBIG CCD camera for imaging faint things, really faint, comets, galaxies, supernovae, novae. And the images go down the cable about 130 foot into the computer in the house. The telescope is also robotically controlled from inside the house as well, so I can swing it around wherever I want to without actually coming outside, apart from rolling back the shed and putting it back in place.
This kind of technology has enabled a new type of amateur to emerge in recent years. Described as pro-ams, they're observers like Martin who are producing work to extremely high standards. And it's thanks to the quality of new high-street digital imaging equipment that they can do this.
You can even use a webcam believe it or not, for taking pictures of the planets that are as good as professionals could take more than 10 years ago before Hubble was launched. There's all this computing power at our disposal. You can take thousands of images of a planet over a few minutes. You can process them on a computer and it will stack and align them and give you a better picture than any professional was getting before about the mid-1990s. So that extra processing power has given amateurs the ability to contribute even more. Of course, the professionals still stay a bit ahead because they've got Hubble and huge telescopes. But I think that the amateurs have just moved with the times, as they always have done.
The digital revolution has undoubtedly launched amateur astronomy into a new orbit, but it's not to everyone's taste. Some traditionalists, like retired railway engineering manager John Meacham, still prefer to keep things simple.
I call myself an agricultural astronomer. I'm a low-tech man, you see. I know you can have all this gear, but in my opinion, there's nothing like using simple equipment, which is easy to operate and easy to set up, and then I can get on and do my observing and my drawing. I need to move with, looking at variable stars, which I should be looking at later on, I need to move with a telescope or the binoculars from one star field to another fairly quickly, because in one night I might get through as many as 30 variable stars, and that's a very important thing. Now, I don't want to waste time fiddling about with a laptop, or the go-to equipment and that sort of. I know it has its place in astronomy. CCD equipment and high-tech is splendid, but in my opinion there's nothing like simple equipment and looking directly at the sky, and that gives me a real kick, that does.
John's passion for astronomy doesn't stop at looking through a telescope. It's a fertile subject for his other love, painting.
Well, it's all part of the same thing in a way, really. I mean, I look at the sky, I make observations of the planets and of comets, Comet Machault's, which is near the pole star at the moment. I get ideas from NASA space probes, from images and photographs that are sent back by spacecraft that have circled round a comet and given us an idea of what it looks like. But I suppose really a good deal of what I do is imaginative. I mean, it's based upon fact, but it's also got to be artistically right, you see, it's another thing. I mean, I see astronomy as an all-embracing subject. It embraces all the sciences. It embraces physics, mathematics, art as well, painting, poetry. Thomas Hardy, for example, the great writer, the writer of The Mayor of Casterbridge, was actually an amateur astronomer, and he wrote a book called Two on a Tower, which is well worth reading, which is about an amateur astronomer who's interested in variable star observing.
The creator of the Discworld universe, novelist Terry Pratchett, also owes his inspiration to astronomy.
I got into science fiction by way of astronomy. That's what really happened. What I discovered first of all were the tea cards. And I was looking at the night sky, and I found a few astronomy books, good old Patrick's, certainly, a couple of his. But I got into science fiction because it had planets and stars and galaxies in it. It's got lots of other stuff as well. I mean, science fiction shouldn't be defined by that. I think it's also true, though, that people that are very interested in how the universe works tend to be a fertile ground for science fiction readers. I don't just mean, you know, the full-on fans, but the people who read science fiction as part of a, you know, wide reading diet.
All right, I'll tell you what. Listen to this.
Thanks to amateur astronomers, the secrets of the universe are now becoming less science fiction and more science fact. While most of us settle down to another evening on the sofa, you can be sure that this small band of unpaid workers will be getting ready for another night shift.
I'm having immense difficulty finding Saturn at the moment. It's over there, you can see it with the naked eye, but at just this moment I cannot pick it up in the main telescope, and it's really annoying me.
Just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. The It's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned a sun that is the source of all our power.
Coming up next this evening here on BBC4, we're charting the final chapter of the story of England with Michael Wood.
Is your birth, and pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, 'cause